test recording for OBS connected to my iPad for on-screen walkthrough, talking head, visual, whatever tutorials for roller derby rules. So if I click, okay, open up our notes here. Sweet. Maybe make my head a little smaller. The rules of roller derby. The unabridged rules designation means that what I've done is literally took different colored cardstock, printed out the rules, cut them all out with fancy paper slicers, and tried to put in images from the officiating codes, cues, and hand signals document in the parts of the rules where it makes sense to see those things. Section 1, even with everything that relates to it from across the several different documents that I use to make this unabridged rule set, this is only 5 pages. Gameplay is a little bit more. It's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 pages. So a little longer to understand the game and how it works. Scoring, how to score points, how to win is also very short. It's only 5. Penalties, which is what most people want to focus on, especially skaters, is lengthy. It's quite long because this is the bread and butter of how to play derby safely and in the most expected way possible. And it's made extra long because these gray pages, because I ran out of green cardstock to put all these things on. With the casebook examples, penalties is a lot. That's a lot going on. In the rules, we'll have 3.1, how do you earn points in this game? Scenario, 3.1.A, 3.1.B. Those are in a separate document, especially if you're coming to derby fresh and you're learning the rules and you don't really know what you're seeing on the track as an official. Reading through the casebook, unless you have really good theater of the mind and you can imagine these things without ever having seen derby before, that's kind of a stretch to ask for somebody that's learning this game for the first time. Even for somebody like me who'd been playing for 7 seasons at that point, plus or minus a pandemic, these are SAT questions, basically. Here's the scenario, here's the outcome, and here's why. The rule set, which you can find at rules.wftda.com. It has a link to the casebook, and I think the rules are if you look at the PDF, it's 30-ish, 34 pages. The casebook is 78 pages. It's dense, and there's no pictures. Well, there's a couple pictures with this, for example. In illegally positioned skaters. I'm going to have to slow down too. Yikes. Get everything set up before I start yammering. There are a few illustrations, but is that helpful for somebody that is learning this game for the first time? But if you have a couple of seasons specifically of officiating, then you come back to the casebook, you'll have these mental videos that you can refer back to of, oh, that game in 2023 when we had this really weird situation, it's described exactly how it happened in the casebook. So what I wanted to do to help make the game and the rules of roller derby more accessible and understandable, digestible for officials in particular, for skaters to better understand strategy and potential loopholes, with any sport, there's the rules and then you're trying to figure out what's the wiggle room. And then for audience members, announcers, to better understand what the skaters are doing and then what the officials are doing together out on the track. I've combined everything into this unabridged rule set so that you have the rule as it's stated in the rules, and then these visual components from the codes, cues, hand signals document, so you can see this is what people are doing, what the whistles sound like, penalties when we get into contact. There's diagrams of, this is literally where you're allowed to hit somebody. Here it is. The pink stuff is legal. But if you hit them in the head, or if you hit them in the spine, or if you hit them in the legs in a way that it has impact on their position, you're not allowed to use your knee pads and below, because we want to keep our skates on the ground. And then likewise, you're only allowed to use certain parts of your body to do this stuff. And then officiating is literally the shortest section, even with the very few, I think there's a few like scenarios in here. Yeah, that's it. Those are the only scenarios for the officials section. Here's how I would approach all of these documents with this helpful massive PDF that I've made. Let me switch back to my talking head. Yay. After 2 days of frustration and distractions and troubleshooting, it's really cool to at least have something that matches what was going on in my brain of how the best approach to teach the rules, especially for somebody that is doing this for the very first time. Maybe they're still learning how to skate and they're also learning the rules. Or you're coming back to the sport after several seasons off and the rules have changed. Cool. See how this looks.